Listen, there's this intriguing shift unfolding at the moment, and remarkably few folks have caught on to it so far. Those who've stirred from their slumber, the ones starting to pierce through the illusion, are simply slipping away. No fanfare, no declarations, no bold statements, just a subtle retreat to the sidelines, opting for quiet over the clamor. And if you've sensed this tug within yourself, if you've puzzled over why the chit-chat, the social scenes, and the facades now grate on you, then what I'm sharing next might offer you profound comfort. This pulling away isn't a disorder. It's not mere reclusiveness. In truth, it's the most instinctive response when a person truly awakens. Allow me to clarify what I mean by awakening. I'm not referring to skimming a couple of philosophy tomes or entertaining a vague notion of unity. I mean that instant when the illusion shatters, revealing how nearly all human endeavors amount to a form of trance-like drifting. Folks are enacting parts, reciting scripts, navigating daily rituals, all oblivious to their drowsy state. When you're still in that haze, it's effortless to blend in. You can engage in empty banter and feel at ease. You can fret over others' judgments and deem it significant. You can pursue hollow pursuits and label them achievements. Yet the instant awareness dawns, the second clarity hits. The landscape transforms. Abruptly, it's as if you've emerged from a dim cinema into glaring sunshine. Attempting to re-enter that space, to settle back into the illusions dancing on the wall, becomes impossible because you recognize it's merely projections and illusions. You grasp its unreality. That's precisely the state of those awakening today. They're realizing they can't engage in the shared illusion any longer. Not out of arrogance or superiority, but because their very being rejects it now. Society thrives on a tacit pact, a collective agreement to feign, to act as if our personas define us, to act as if our views are truly personal, not mere echoes from the surroundings, to act as if this frenzy of purpose and effort is heading to some grand destination, demanding everyone's involvement to sustain the charade. It's akin to a theatrical production where performers must remain immersed, but an awakened soul steps out of role. They drop the dialogue. They gaze straight at the onlookers, unsettling the entire ensemble since the alert one perceives the underlying truth. They spot the anxiety masking poise. They detect the void amid the frenzy. They realize that the bulk of conflicts stem from misperceptions of the real issues. When a group targets outsiders as culprits, the awakened eye discerns it's merely dodging inner shadows. When fury erupts online in the forums, the aware mind views it as unprocessed emotions lashing out blindly. When divisions form into camps of insiders versus outsiders, the awakened insight reveals it's all mirrored illusions clashing. And once that vision takes hold, there's no erasing it. You can't revert to treating it all with gravity. You can't join the accusations, the verdicts, the indignant fury, for you perceive it's merely a vast deflection, a grand diversion of fingers to evade self-examination. So how does the awakened individual respond? They step aside, not from disdain for humanity, but because continuing demands denying their newfound insight. Each dialogue forces them to act blind to what they know. Each assembly calls for embodying a false self that's obsolete. Every exchange urges them to diminish into something smaller. In time, the inner essence declares halt. Cease the acting, cease the show, cease diluting your profundity into superficial chatter just for acceptance. Seek spaces where you can truly expand. Let me emphasize this clearly. This isn't dodging the spiritual path or shirking duties. It's not fleeing hardship by retreating to isolation. Far from it. This is acknowledging how lingering in oblivious settings erodes awareness. It's like forcing a flower to thrive without light. It endures briefly, but soon it fades. The awakened soul learns that proximity to unawareness isn't merely irksome, it's draining. Surrounded by the somnolent, you expend immense effort to preserve your clarity. You must sift through the distortions ceaselessly. You must anchor yourself amid the turmoil as disorder spins. You must stay sharp amid the haze surrounding everyone else. It demands immense effort, this unseen labor that goes unnoticed and unthanked. You're performing mental tasks that others don't even recognize as necessary. Eventually, it dawns on you that all your vitality is being drained just to maintain awareness in settings that constantly drag you toward numbness. At that point, you decide. You opt for awareness instead of fitting in. You favor honesty over fitting in. You prioritize your personal insight over the validation from those blind to your perspective. That's when the fading starts. Initially, you abandon social platforms, grasping that they're engineered to foster unawareness. Each swipe invites criticism, envy, fury, and diversion. For the enlightened, it's like wading through filth. So you quit. You remove the apps. You cease peaking, and abruptly, you reclaim vast stretches of time. Next, you drift from social groups without drama or declarations. You simply cease attending, realizing that most get-togethers are mere acts. Folks acting out their achievements, joy, views, and you refuse to join the charade. Your true essence has surfaced, uninterested in faking it. Then you end specific bonds, not from indifference toward others, but because those ties were founded on your former, dormant self. And now, with enlightenment, there's no shared terrain. You're speaking incompatible tongues. You're inhabiting separate realms. Finally, you exit your profession. This proves the toughest challenge, as culture has ingrained that our occupation defines us. Yet, the enlightened individual can't sustain the pretense their position demands. They can't feign interest in trivial matters. They can't engage in structures they've pierced. Thus, they depart, swiftly at times, gradually at others, but they go, for remaining equates to perishing in another form. It would entail extinguishing the awareness they've labored to cultivate. Now, allow me to explain the outcome of this retreat, as it's far from what many assume. Folks often picture withdrawing from society as leading to isolation, melancholy, solitude. Yet, for the enlightened, the reverse unfolds. In seclusion, loneliness evaporates at last. Understand, there's a distinction between isolation and true solitude. Isolation strikes when you're amid those who overlook your essence. True solitude arrives when you're liberated to embody your genuine self. As the enlightened retreat, they uncover something remarkable. They realize they were never truly connected to others, even in crowds. Genuine bonds demand awareness, encountering awareness. And when you're alert amid slumbering masses, there's no one to connect with. But in seclusion, in that serene void, distant from clamor, pretense, and facades, you encounter your core self. Truly encounter it. Not the facade you've enacted, not the part you've portrayed, but the vital, pulsing awareness that defines you. This isn't isolating. This is returning to your roots. Here you can at last tune into your thoughts, sans the relentless barrage of external judgments. You can sense your emotions without soaking up the moods of others. You can unearth your true desires, convictions, identity. I term this the recluse stage. It's essential for any on the path to enlightenment. You can't evolve while clinging to past ties and obligations. You can't morph into a butterfly while clinging to caterpillar ways. A retreat is vital, a chrysalis period, a phase of profound inner labor. During this, the enlightened aren't fleeing, they're assimilating. They're sifting through the accumulated numbness from years past. They're mending the scars from feigning an inauthentic identity. They're forging the resilience to uphold their reality amid surrounding slumber. This labor is grueling, far more than mere dormancy. For in wakefulness you can't fault others for your woes. You can't cast your shadows on easy scapegoats. You can't evade your inner voids through busyness and diversions. You confront it all, the terror, the hurt, the flaws you've sidestepped, and you tackle it solo, as no one else can shoulder it. Yet here's the profound reward. After this labor, after weaving in your hidden aspects and unearthing your true nature, you're no longer reliant on others for your grasp of existence. You're beyond seeking endorsement, affirmation, or inclusion. You've uncovered a measure, something far more precious. You've uncovered your true essence. And from that vantage point, should you decide to rejoin the world, you'll come back transformed. Not to join the oblivious masses, but to bring something fresh, a new vibration, a novel option. You evolve into what I term a threshold guardian, a being who navigates the boundary between the dormant realm and the enlightened one. You're there yet detached, accessible yet independent, involved yet untrapped. Perhaps you'll guide those just starting to stir. Maybe you'll craft creations that resonate with profound layers, or pen insights that act as guides for fellow wandering spirits, or just embody your existence so genuinely that it prompts others to question if there's a better path. But you'll never slip back into the ordinary flow. You can't, for once you've savored awareness, reverting to slumber is impossible. Once you've connected with your genuine core, resuming pretense is out of the question. Once you've pierced the illusion, feigning its reality becomes untenable. Now, I can guess what's crossing some minds. Isn't this self-centered? Ought we remain involved and strive to rouse the rest? Shouldn't we push for reform from the inside? Here's my response to that. You can't share what you lack. Without complete enlightenment of your own, without tackling your personal depths, without reconciling your hidden aspects, you bring nothing substantial to the table. You'd merely be another unaware soul attempting to arouse others in the same state. You'd merely cast your own shadows while professing wisdom. You'd merely sow more disarray while believing you're fostering insight. No, the truest act of compassion is to achieve full awakening yourself, to undertake the profound journey of unification, to attain true awareness, and only then, from that solid ground, extend yourself to those prepared to receive it. Grasp this. The majority aren't prepared. Most prefer their slumber. They cherish their fantasies, their distractions, their facades, and that's entirely acceptable. It's their choice. It's not your role to jolt them awake. Your role is to awaken alone, and then to stand ready subtly, softly, sans pressure or preaching. For those faintly shifting in their dreams, that's the reason the enlightened are fading away. They're seeking spaces to be genuine, to respire freely, to nurture their awareness without endless justification, clarification, or dilution to ease others' discomfort. They're connecting in intimate groups, in serene corners, on the fringes. They're forging modest havens of insight amid the vast numbness. They're devising unconventional lifestyles that honor their integrity. And this isn't desertion. It's the utmost accountability, since society doesn't crave more contributors to its blindness. It craves those who've endured the rigor of emergence. It craves vivid models of alternate existence. It craves souls who've reclaimed their true natures. So, if you're sensing that urge to fade, if engaging in everyday routines grows increasingly burdensome, if the distractions, the pretense, the clamor are losing their pull, then heed that summons. It's your spirit beckoning you back. It's your awareness demanding room to fully blossom. Resist it not. Shun guilt over it. Avoid compelling yourself to cling to what exhausts you. Allow yourself to retreat. Allow yourself solitude. Allow yourself to vanish temporarily. This isn't forever. You'll re-emerge when the moment arrives, but you'll re-emerge renewed, complete, real, capable of sharing true insight instead of mere hollow display. Meanwhile, make the most of your isolation. Pursue the inner labor. Harmonize your darker sides. Unearth your genuine being. Cultivate your awareness, for this is the true demand of the world. Not throngs feigning alertness, but individuals who've truly arisen. The spiritually alert are vanishing because they have to. Awareness can't flourish in oblivious surroundings. Genuineness can't surface amid role-playing. Verity can't surface in the midst of shared deceptions. So release them, or, if you're among them, release yourself. Retreat guilt-free. Vanish unapologetically. Solitude without isolation. And have faith that you're tracing in timeless rhythm an essential rhythm, the one every emerging soul pursues. The larva must liquefy within its chrysalis to transform into the winged creature. The kernel must fracture in the shadowed earth to grow into the mighty oak. The enlightened soul must step back from the crowd before returning with substance of worth. What you have to give, it's far from over. In fact, it's just getting started, the start of true awareness in a reality that's crying out for it. Yet that awareness has to grow in isolation first before you can bring it to others. So vanish if that's what it takes. And understand that by stepping away, you're truly building something the dormant society isn't ready to notice, something it'll crave once it starts stirring. You're not leaving people behind. You're trailblazing, pushing forward to clear the path. You're transforming into the very essence that folks will one day rely on from you. And that's the deepest act of kindness imaginable.